All right, good day, everyone. It's Sylvain here. Welcome again for another video. With me today, I've got Douglas Tuman. Uh, he's in the Monero community, actively involved in a couple shows on YouTube and other platforms, such as Monerotopia, Monero Talk. You've probably seen that before. If not, then I'm gonna let him introduce himself and talk a bit about the two shows that he's running. So thanks for joining us, Douglas.
All you need is a great sales funnel builder. But you see, I'm talking about a real sales funnel builder. A sales funnel builder, which of course can integrate with page builders, email marketing, CRM, checkouts, members area, e-learning, webinars, and so on. I'm talking about a single powerful and modern tool capable of allowing you to kick ass in digital marketing.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
Appreciate you reaching out to me to come on and talk about Monero.
for sure.
I like this format because normally it's me having people on my show and asking questions, but I like to also then just talk about Monero as well.
Yeah.
So I run the Monero Talk YouTube show, which basically been doing it for, I don't know, maybe 3 years now. It's been a while. And I just have people from the community come on, developers. Those are probably our best episodes where we have the guys that are actually building the tech that come on. I'm not a super techie guy, but I like to be the bridge between the techie people and the non-techie people. So I ask them noobish type questions, and I try to explain it to the audience through my questions. And we do shows like that. Then we also have have a lot of Bitcoin maximalists that I have come on the show. And we talk about the differences between Bitcoin and Monero. It always comes down to fungibility. I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah.
And we also have a show called Monerotopia, which is also on the Monero Talk YouTube channel. And that's just a live show that we do. And that's open up to anybody in the community or in any community that wants to jump on. We give a live stream link out there. People can jump on stage with us and they can participate, ask questions. So that's basically what I do for the Monero community.
Awesome. Yeah. Bitcoin maximalist. Yeah, I would never see that anywhere, right? Especially nowadays. It's price go up. You're going to see them quite active on Twitter and other platforms, obviously.
Yeah.
So let's get talking about Monero a bit. So let's say if someone's from watching my my channel, Monero. So what is Monero? Monero, how would you describe it to like a beginner, someone that has no clue what we're talking about with Monero, and what kind of problem does it solve? So why is Monero there essentially? Can you explain a little bit?
Yeah. So Monero, in its simplest form, is digital cash. In my opinion, I believe that's what Bitcoin set out to be, and I think Monero has achieved that. So the main difference between Bitcoin and Monero is the fact that Monero is ultimately fungible on the core protocol level. We could get into that more. That's really due to the privacy that's built into it. So every unit of Monero equals every other unit of Monero, because when you transact with Monero, there is no trail to see. There's, it's blockchain technology. It's on a ledger, but the ledger isn't transparent for the entire world to look at. So when you receive a Monero transaction or when you send one, there's no history that goes with it. And because of that, one Monero always equals one Monero. And in essence, it's digital cash. And we could get into why I think that's an important tool to have.
Yeah, essentially. And then, yeah, you're talking about Bitcoin that was meant, from the white paper, meant to be more of a peer-to-peer transaction system, which is that's kind of changing a little bit with now the digital gold, and more like put it somewhere, store it, and then keep it there, wait for number to go up without really using it, right? So that's kind of going that direction. So obviously other cryptos like Monero's seem to be be more active, more in that transaction role, as opposed to just keeping so now a problem that it would solve. So why would you like? Why would I be using, let's say, Monero versus like another one? I don't know, Dash, Litecoin, any of the other one. Like, what does it bring? So, again, to the point of like a beginner talking, like, okay, why should I use this one now?
Yeah, I would say it solves the fungibility problem. So what, once again, for people that don't understand what that really means, it's one unit equals every other unit. It's like cash. You know, if I met up with you, whatever, you're working at a bar, you're a bartender, and I showed up at the bar and a drink costs $5, and I take out a $5 bill and I give it to you, no question about where that bill came from and whether or not it's actually $5, and or if it's different than another $5 bill. Every bill equals every other bill, and that's what we see with Monero. So every unit equals every other unit. So the reason why you would want to use that is because it acts like cash, but cash for the internet. So obviously we're seeing early adoption with it in places that most need digital cash right now. So the dark markets, right? So those are the early adopters of Monero. The ransomware hackers, when they request their ransoms, they request in Bitcoin, but then they offer a 20% discount if people pay with Monero. So all these things, maybe not the best things to mention when you're trying to speak about your currency in a positive way, but it's showcasing that it works as intended, which is digital cash. So people can use it anonymously, privately, and they know once they receive it, they're not going to be tracked and traced thereafter. And I think there's a lot of positive reasons why you want that, and why societies essentially need that. So open and free societies rely on this concept of having an ability for people to transact freely and without censorship. And as we transition to the digital age, that freedom is being stifled because all transactions can essentially be tracked and traced. And you need something like Monero that's going to allow people to continue to use cash, but on the internet.
Yeah. Okay. And then you mentioned a couple terms there. So like private, privacy, anonymous. Now, I kind of have issues with that term, especially like that's why I wanted to talk about it. I mentioned it to you before the show about. So what about the term like privacy coins versus like anonymous coins? I find like, to me, like anonymous would fit better, like the actual classification of the coin. Like, what do you think about that? Like privacy, I'm thinking more like private coin would be like a Bitcoin, but anonymous would be like something like Monero. Would you agree with me on that one, or?
No, not necessarily. Well, first of all, I think I never heard of the distinction between privacy coins and anonymous coins. Yeah. But, you know, Bitcoin is pseudonymous, right, is what they like to say. But I think this whole labeling of Monero as a privacy coin is kind of silly, and labeling anything as a privacy coin. They're cryptocurrency. The word crypto means, you know, essentially hidden and secret. Yeah. So these things are supposed to be digital cash, right? We don't call cash privacy cash. Cash, right? There isn't a private version or anonymous version of cash and one that isn't. Cash is cash, and everybody understands when they use it. When I give you a dollar bill, that doesn't mean you get to see all my account information with it. With Bitcoin, you potentially can, right? If I send a Bitcoin, you could then go look at my address, right? You could then go look at all my history. That doesn't happen with cash. And so this idea that we've labeled Monero as something as being a privacy version of Bitcoin is kind of ridiculous. If anything, we should label these things like Bitcoin as surveillance coins, right? So they're lacking privacy. They're lacking this attribute that cash normally has. And then just in terms of terms, I mean, anonymity is about, you know, being able to hide your identity, right? So it's about the concept of anonymity is about being able to kind of act in the real world, participate, but where people don't know who you are. So with Monero, you can do that very easily. I can post a donation address for Monero, and you know, maybe I have some political movement that I'm trying to move forward, and now that protects the people that want to donate to me, right? Because maybe it's something controversial, but they can donate knowing that nobody will know who they are and be able to discover who they are. And there's a lot of other you know, use cases there, but I'd say that that's a good example.
Yeah, that's a good one. Like privacy cache. I never heard that that term, but it's yeah, it's well explained. Like it's just cache, like you mentioned. So yeah, makes sense. Yeah, it seems like the labeling is always part of crypto. They always want to label things, meme coins, DeFi, you name it, right? So that seems like the labeling is always part of society. It seems, but
And people are trying to own these, through labeling, trying to own these domains, these ideas, right? So I think in the long run, the technology and the fundamentals are going to win. So even Bitcoin is defining itself as digital gold, like you said, right? But really, if you know the history, it started as digital cash, but once it really became unusable for that purpose, then it kind of pivoted into being digital gold, right? And the meme became, don't even spend it, don't even move it around, just hold it. It's really more so because it's not good for those purposes. But there's no reason why something like Monero can't actually be a better form of digital gold than Bitcoin itself. It shares all the attributes of Bitcoin, plus with the added benefit of having privacy and fungibility built into it. If I gave you a bar of gold, it doesn't come with a serial number that's permanently attached to it, where, then if you then go on and use it, it could be tracked and traced. Nobody knows what you do with your gold thereafter. You could always melt it down.
Yeah.
Bitcoin does not have that. So just a point to be made there in terms of the label of digital gold.
Yeah, exactly. So now coins like like Monero, how important you think it is for the future of crypto, obviously, because it should be, I guess, somewhat like Monero, like you're mentioning, the way you're explaining it. So how important do you think that is? Because it doesn't seem to be super important at the moment, because people keep jumping on like Shiba Inu, DeFi coins. So now, do you think that shift will kind of happen at some point? Like how, like what's your respect on all this?
Yeah, 100%. I think the market is just crazy right now. People are treating it like a casino, and that they can. Greed is driving it, and that makes sense. And greed was built into greed is one of the things that allowed Bitcoin to take off to begin with, right? It was one of the great things that Satoshi took advantage of, right? He kind of built that into it. It's like there's only 21 million, and you better get some now. But I think it's kind of an overdrive, and now people are applying that to these other projects. But at the end of the day, the real value proposition for crypto, there's a couple of use cases, but the primary use case, the most disruptive thing, and the thing that'll be most widely used for, is digital cash. And there's only a few projects that are getting close to achieving that or have achieved that. I personally think Monero is really the only one who's achieved it. Bitcoin, I think, is actually on its way to achieving it. You would think, due to its market cap arguments, it already has, but it hasn't, because it has yet to figure out the fungibility element. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to see that a project like Monero, or if there's something else that somehow takes over, is going to be a major winner that really fulfills the use case of being global digital cash, something that anybody anywhere can opt into and use without permission, and then send value peer to peer without censorship, and doing it in a way where nobody can track or trace what you're doing. And that is, in my opinion, the primary use case of cryptocurrency.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that makes total sense. And now with all and then some people, that maybe thinking of it as a casino. So what do you think about all the regulations? Because people approach it that way. Okay, the regulations are coming. So if you invest in Monero, you're probably going to have your funds, gone at some point because they'll ban it, that sort of thing. So what do you think of that aspect, anonymous coins, effect of like possible like heavy regulations against like a Monero, for example?
Well, once again, so the way these things are supposed to be designed is in a way where none of that matters, right? So cryptocurrency, the whole concept is that it's a tool that people can use and nobody can stop them from using it. No corporation can get involved. No government can get involved. So governments are going to do what they're going to do. Corporations are going to try to do what they want to do. But the idea is that they effectively won't be able to regulate it. This is why we're seeing Monero being adopted once again in places like the dark market, because it's good for those purposes. It's unstoppable. It's decentralized. It's anonymous. And so if regulations come about where they say you can't use Monero, yeah, it may make it a little more difficult for the mainstreamer to obtain it, but in no way are they going to be able to stop it. There's so much more to be said about Monero. I wish the show was longer because it's not only private. It has a lot of other elements that make it really good digital cash, really good cryptocurrency. For example, it's mined with something called the random X proof of work, which basically means that it's CPU mined, not ASIC mined. So that adds to a strong decentralized network. And there's a couple other things that really add to Bitcoin, to Monero's strong decentralized network, making it unstoppable for those purposes. So even if regulations do come about, you're not going to be able to prevent people from, turning on their computers, downloading software, and then
sending and using Monero as they wish.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you see the other coins, like, let's say Zcash or Zcash, whatever you want to say it, and what's a new one? The Pirate Chain R. I think you had. I think I was watching one of your morning show in the weekend, and you were talking about Pirate Chain, and they're kind of competing Monero, or you wish they would probably be with kind of pushing the same direction. What do you think about that? Like the other coins, are they some people? There's always I seem to be going on Telegram on Zcash, and they seem to say, okay, it's better than Monero. So what's your opinion on that?
There's always going to be this competition, but once again, you got to look at the core principles of it and the stats. So Monero, if you look at how much it's actually being used, it dwarfs any other privacy coin. Once again, I don't like calling it that, but the usage transaction count, Monero is used many, many more times than any other coin that's trying to do the same thing. It's taken over the use case of digital cash in the dark markets, even more so over Bitcoin. People have moved away from Bitcoin and they moved to Monero. So it has the network effect. And network effect is a real thing, and that's going to be hard for any other project to overcome for winning that use case, unless they're doing something 10x better. When Monero came around, Bitcoin was there. So, Bitcoin has a network effect, but I think there's arguments to be made that it has this 10x, this thing that it's essentially doing that makes it 10x better, right? Which is adding fungibility. So it added this new technological ability to not only be a ledger system that people share that allows people to transact, but now obfuscating that ledger. And that was a big major development. So for any of these other incremental developments, probably aren't going to be big enough to the point where people move over and start using a new network for digital cash. Making it slightly faster isn't going to really do anything. So it's going to be hard to come up with new improvements that make digital cash better than digital cash.
Yeah, exactly. You said it there. Now and then your show is kind of promoting that, like more adoption, more people talking about Monero and getting involved, community, yada yada, right? So what do you think of the issues going forward for like a broader adoption of Monero, or like what would you recommend people that want to get involved in it?
Come to Monero subreddit, watch our Monerotopia show if you want to come on and have questions. Just start using it, get your hands on some. And mine it if you can. You can mine it on CPU. Like I said, you don't need an ASIC miner. Run a full node. It's relatively easy to run a full node. The other thing I should say about mining is you can mine with something called that recently Monero invented, or the Monero community invented, called P2 pool, which basically allows you to mine Monero in a pool, but without giving too much power to the pool owners, which is a great invention.
Okay.
But just get involved that way and start using it and tell other people to use it. Send it to them. Send your friends some. Monero's cheap to send. To send a Bitcoin transaction, it costs a few dollars, but I could send you $1 of Monero and it'll cost me 1/3 of a cent in transaction fees. When you go out to places and you meet people or you're buying something, everybody knows about crypto these days. Most of them know about Shiba Inu, unfortunately, but they all know crypto. Ask them if they are willing to accept Monero. If they are, on the spot, you can tell them to download Cake Wallet, and you can send them Monero. You could pay for your lunch in Monero. You'd be surprised about the amount of people in this day and age who are willing to try it and accept it and get involved. I want to bring up one other thing, because when we talked about regulation, I think it's also important to say that, as of now, Monero, it's completely legal to use Monero. In the United States, you can use Monero, you could use it to buy things. And there, there's something called the Constitution that has something called the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment. And so if they're going to try to make something like Monero illegal, it's going to be probably impossible to overcome those protections. Software is protected by the First Amendment. There's arguments to me that the money itself is protected by the First Amendment. It's going to be really hard to regulate it out of existence. And as it currently stands, Monero is cash, right? So if cash is legal, then Monero is legal. And for exchanges, there's nothing stopping exchanges from adopting Monero. It's perfectly legal to do so. We see major exchanges like Kraken doing it. The other ones that we're not seeing it doing it, it's probably because they have interests in other coins. And you could go ahead and do your research there, but that's where that really leads. It has nothing to do with regulation. In fact, if anything, it's probably easier for exchanges to use Monero because of the fact that it isn't traceable. So once somebody comes, they do KYC AML on an exchange, they buy some Monero. Once they move that Monero off the exchange, it's like cash, and the exchange really has nothing else they can do at that point because they can't track and trace.
Yeah, they kind of know it transited through there because you give your ID, but then once it's out, then it's gonna go on, right? So
one important point I just need to make is there's this thing called view keys, and Monero has that. So if somebody did need to audit you, you can always show people what your transactions were. It's opt-in, so the default is private, right? The default is that people can't see your transactions.
okay.
You need to show somebody, some authority, you can, shown by opting in to do it. And that's the way it should be. Just like with cash, people can't see what you're doing. But if somebody some authority sends you a letter and you're being audited, then at that point you can show them what transactions you made with receipts and whatnot.
Oh, okay, I didn't know about that. So that's actually a great point that to be aware about. Yeah, so that's good. You were talking about Cake Wallet. There's other wallets, right? It's mobile, right? People can put it on their phone. I actually downloaded Cake Wallet, and it looks like the interface is really good. Yeah, so that'd be a great option for people that definitely don't want to use that. And there are other wallets as well, correct? Other
Correct.
ones that if they want to use.
Yeah, Cake Wallet. I like to use that. It's on iOS and Android. It was the first iOS wallet. It's open source. Monero is another very good wallet, open source. It's Android only. There's also My Monero, and there's others now, other companies now that are adding Monero to their wallets.
Yeah, that's good.
I recommend Cake, and then within Cake, there's an exchange built within Cake that allows you to easily essentially acquire Monero if you're in an area where you can't easily get it, but you can get other cryptos, and then you could exchange within the wallet for Monero.
Okay, and I think it accepts a couple more cryptos, right? Litecoin, I think, and Bitcoin, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So now since people get it from the exchange, they put it on their Cake wallet, let's say, and they want to spend it, where are the locations? Like, have you used, are you using like regular location store online? Where can people use it?
Yeah, well, like I said, so like I live in New York, so I try to incorporate it into my life. So I ask people to accept it when I'm out.
Okay.
Out and about. You're not going to get like a mainstream whatever supermarket maybe on the spot, but the little restaurants and stuff I go to. But there's this app called not app. Well, I guess it is an app. It's a website called Coin Cards that allows you to buy gift cards. So you could buy like Amazon gift cards and a lot of others, and that basically can cover like 98% of all the needs you have. So I've been essentially living off Monero recently, and that allows me to do that. I could buy, an Amazon gift card with Monero on Coin Cards, and then I could use that to buy, basically everything that I need in life. Travala is now accepts Monero, and that buy, plane tickets. So that covers a large portion of all your needs right there. Amazon and, travel.
Yeah. I guess, and if people are not familiar with coin cards, it's like similar to like Bitrefill, but I don't think it's supported by Monero. I think there's Dash and Lightning Network, Litecoin, and Ethereum. I think Bitcoin, amongst other things. Yep. Now we talked about and then any final words about like your show, or I think you're inviting people on top of that, right? If I'm not mistaken, let's say you're doing that on the weekend, so people can come on and discuss either Monero or bring on other topics. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Monero Talk Show is, like I said, where we have the serious interviews. But Monerotopia is anybody can come on, they can jump on, they could ask questions. If you're from noob to expert, come on down, jump on. It's usually Saturday mornings, 11 a.m. New York City time. And yeah, we'd love to have you.
Awesome. Yeah, so that covers the most of my questions for today. I just wanted to make it so with a nice overview and explained it really well. So thanks a lot, Douglas, for coming on, and then hopefully we'll have you on again at some point. And I might try to drop by your show as well at some point, say a few things. I'm also covering some stuff in French also, but yeah, I still run the show in English as well to keep this one going at the same time. So thanks a lot for coming on. Unless you've got other final words, then that'll be it.
Like I said, I could talk forever on it, but thank you for having me. But I do, anybody who's listening to this and kind of learning about Monero for the first time, there's so much more to it than just the fact that it is private and anonymous. That's probably its biggest selling point, the fact that it's fungible. But like I said, it's this whole, the unique mining network that it has that makes it arguably more decentralized than Bitcoin itself. Dynamic block size, essentially, so Monero can scale. The Monero blocks scale as more transactions go into it, as opposed to the Bitcoin block size, which is fixed. There's a lot of very creative things in Monero that are built into it, and all for the purposes of allowing it to be digital cash on the protocol level and allowing it to scale with organic adoption as people start using it more and more for those purposes.
All right, awesome. Yeah, lots more to discover, and even for myself, lots more to research. So yeah, again, thanks for coming on. Hopefully we'll talk again. Bye-bye.
Cram so much in there, but I got to take the opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.